Hello, lifers. Welcome back to the Live the Life podcast. I am your host, Eric Aroca. Hey, on this podcast, we explore the Live the Life principles that help us to be able to create winning cultures that last. And those winning cultures can be in your personal life, such as your family, or in your organizations, in your places of work. So, Live the Life principles are a great thing and a great way that will help enable you to be able to just simply create awesome cultures so that you love going to work wherever it is that you work. Awesome. Okay, hey, my hair is a mess. I mean, it is so bad. So I'm kind of in a growing out stage because I'm taking my part and moving it down about half an inch. And so this looks like a porcupine. This looks like it's just long, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you with that. But it's some exciting news. I've been talking to you guys about the rewrite for the Live the Life You've Always Imagined book. That's the first book I wrote back in 2016. Here is the book. And I'm happy to report the rewrite and the edit is basically done. I need to just maybe go through it one more time to make sure. And I am right now on my laptop looking at the new cover. And I kind of like it. It's a little different. It's not going to be a total redo of the cover, but it's different enough that you'll definitely, I don't know, you'll see. I'm excited to show it to you guys, but got to keep it under wraps for right now. So that'll be coming out. I'm thinking that maybe if I can get the final editing done, maybe this weekend, then hey, in less than 10 days, it'll be available on Amazon for you guys to purchase. And we'll probably even do a giveaway here on the podcast. So something to look forward to. I hope you guys' bracket is looking better than mine. Although I gotta say, my bracket's really not doing too badly right now. I kind of picked BYU to go all the way to the Elite Eight, losing against Duke. So I think I've still got Houston, which is my pick to win the whole thing. I've got Duke, I've got BYU in there. So I'm not doing horribly, but you know, that opening day, my bracket took a little bit of a beating, but it's fun. Anyway, I hope that you're enjoying it. You're probably getting a little bit more work done this week than, let's face it, than you did all of last week, because we were paying attention to more important things last week, like filling out our brackets, and that can be tricky. So, but anyways, so that's where we are with some of that information. And let's see, I have been doing a little bit of research for a book that I'm working on. And right now, when I say I'm doing research, literally I am doing research, building some relationships as I build, as I start to kind of build out the content. And I think it's important to build some relationships in order to do that. So the book is basically going to be for educators. The first version of the book will be out for educators, and it's about creating winning cultures in the school and in the classroom. And so I'm really excited about doing that project. And then we'll have a different version that will come out, which will be kind of like for general business purposes, to help you in any organization that you're in. But there are some things that happen in the educational space that don't lend itself well to corporate America and vice versa. And so that's why I went ahead and did the two books. So anyway, but it's been a lot of fun. And the way that I'm doing my research is a little bit maybe unorthodox. So one of the things that I'm doing is really just building relationships with educators, with principals, with counselors, with teachers, with para educators, and just building those relationships so that when it comes time, those relationships are built and they can help with the collaboration of the book. So something to look forward to. The other thing that I'm doing is substitute teaching. And let me just tell you, that has been an eye-opening experience. I wouldn't say I'm deathly afraid, you guys, but I do not really feel super comfortable around really small children. But you know what? I've really enjoyed being a pre-K substitute. That's right, I said pre-K. That means 4-year-olds. And they can be pretty challenging, but it's been a lot of fun. So far I've done pre-K teacher, pre-K para, which if you guys don't know, in educational space, a para educator is basically just some sort of an assistant, or, sometimes anyway, I don't want to bore you with that either. So titles can get messy in educational space. But I've done pre-K, 3rd grade, and then I've done 4th grade, and then I've been moving up a little bit and kind of been diversifying. So I've done middle school, which is 6th grade here in Texas, junior high, which is 7th and 8th grade, and then I've also done some substitute teaching over at the high school. And it has been an incredible experience so far, and have been learning a lot. And I just have every day I come home with more notes, right? And so more and more notes. So it's been good in that way, because it's helping me to create that content and making sure that when we come out with that book, that it is just going to be like dead on and have it be something that is super helpful. So let's go ahead and dive right into this week's episode. And what I want to talk to you guys about today is, let me backtrack just a second. Last week we talked about some of the principles that we need to live to help us prepare to live the 4 core values of the Live the Life principles. So we talked about things like being unplugged, disconnected kind of from your devices, and having a little bit of time to like ponder and think and plan and doing some of those things, and really helping you to like live in the moment when you're in those special moments, instead of trying to record everything. We talked about gratitude and how important gratitude can be in our lives. It helps us forget about us. It helps us forget about our problems, some of the challenges that we may be going through, because we're focused on gratitude. Let's see, what else did we talk about? We talked about living kind of a goal-oriented life. I know that we talked a little bit about negative self-talk. We talked about the idea that storms, no matter how dark the storm in your life is, that storms are temporary. And that's the beautiful thing about even the ugliest of storms, is that they are temporary. There's always blue skies on the other side of that storm. So just living those principles will help you, will help prepare you to start living the core 4 principles of the Live the Life, I don't want to say strategy, but that Live the Life way, right? Okay, so let's just jump right in. The first one is to dream more. And I came across a quote many years ago. I think the quote is by Henry David Thoreau. But basically, the quote says, if your actions inspire you to dream more, to learn more, to do more, to become more, then you are a leader. So this has just been a quote that has helped with the founding principles of the Live the Life principles that we live, but it's also become my leadership model. So you'll see tons of models, and if you Google leadership models, you'll see there's just a cajillion models out there. Mine is very simple. Mine is those 4 core things: to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and to become more. So as a leader, you first have to live those values. If you don't live those values, you can't possibly inspire others to do the same. Therefore, you would not be a leader. But if you are living those values, then you have an opportunity to inspire other people to do it. Do you see how this works? How beautiful this process is? And once you start inspiring other people to do it, it snowballs from there, and you can just keep that, you kind of keep that rolling along. All right, so obviously then the very first thing you've got to do is be willing to dream more. And what does that actually mean? You know, whenever I go out and give presentations on the live the life principles, when we get to the dream more part, I can just almost hear people's eyes rolling to the back of their head, okay? Because a lot of times they feel like, oh my gosh, here we go again. You know, it's going to be like pie in the sky. It's going to be like, oh, daydreaming type of stuff. That's really not what I'm talking about at all. What we mean by dream more is to visualize what is possible. And I'm going to give you a great example. As you know, I've been sharing with you guys, I didn't graduate high school till I was 25. Graduated high school by a total fluke. It was a total accident. But hey, I'll take it, okay? Because to be honest, there was probably no other way I was graduating high school, okay? One thing I've learned about substitute teaching third grade is I'm not smarter than a third grader, okay? The other day they were talking about suffix and prefix, and to be honest, I didn't know what the hell we were talking about, okay? So I'm a little embarrassed to say it, but that's the honest truth. Being vulnerable with you guys. All right, so visualizing a little bit more. So once I graduated high school, I had the opportunity to enroll into college. I wanted to get a bachelor's degree. So I enrolled into college, and in that first class that I took in college, I started to visualize myself walking across the stage to get my diploma, to get my bachelor's degree. That's something I never did in high school. In fact, I just figured in high school that that moment was not going to happen for me. And sure enough, it didn't happen for me. So maybe I should have visualized in high school and I probably would have got my diploma. But anyway, I didn't learn this until later on in life. So I would visualize walking across a stage to get my diploma. I did that for the 7.5 years that it took for me to get my my bachelor's degree. Now I know what you're saying, that hey, a bachelor's degree is only 4 years. I was on the road quite a bit. I put myself on the 10-year plan to get my bachelor's degree because of my work schedule. So really, you can call me an overachiever because I did it in 7.5. So that's the story I'm sticking with. Okay, that's where I'm going. But it was really helpful to be able to see myself receiving my diploma and you know, feeling good and just kind of feeling like, oh, what would that feel like? Because I had nothing to go off of. I'd never done it before. And so I was able to imagine what it would feel like. I was able to imagine my kids in the audience, you know, cheering for their dad, and kind of making my wife proud because, you know, hey, graduation day in high school, I attended graduation to support her because we were high school sweethearts. We went to the same high school. And so anyway, I didn't know what it felt like for myself. So being able to visualize it and be able to see it in my mind really helped me to stay focused on achieving that goal. I think that's one of the key things that helped me overcome all the obstacles in that 7.5 years in order for me to finally achieve me actually being able to walk across that stage, listening to my kids cheer, and picking up my diploma. It's an awesome thing. So when we talk about dreaming more, that's really what I'm talking about. It's that awesome, that just powerful visualization technique that you need to go through. So I want you to see yourself achieving whatever it is you want to achieve. I want you to see yourself building the culture that you want to build in your in your spaces, whether that's in your personal life or in your professional life. You have to be able to see it in order for you to achieve it. I really do believe that if we can see it, we can achieve it. Maybe kind of a cheesy saying, but I really think that there's a lot of credence to that. So something to keep in mind. Let's see, what else do I have? I really believe in formulas, and I think that this has been a great formula for me to follow. So I really do hope that it's a formula that will allow you to do the same, to allow you to live the life you wanted to live, to allow you to build that winning culture. And so try it out, see what you think. It's worked wonders in my life. There is a quote, and I don't know who this quote is by. It may be like an unknown, because I couldn't find an author to the quote. But basically the quote says, "Dreams only die if you let them starve." Think about that. Dreams only die if you let them starve. Now, I think the interesting thing about dreaming more is that when we are really young, that is what we are constantly doing. We are constantly dreaming, visualizing the future, what it could look like, right? I know for myself, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. I mean, I grew up in Chile. What else was I going to be, right? What else was I going to dream of possibly? So that was the big thing. I dreamt of that. I had dreams about that, being a professional soccer player. My dad played soccer. We went to the stadium every weekend, or not every weekend, but we went to the stadium a lot and to watch games. And that was just a passion that I had and something that I really loved. And it was just fun to be able to dream about that. But I think my point is that when we're young, we have that freedom to dream whatever it is we want to dream. But at the same time, we have people telling us the biggest lie that we're ever going to hear, that if we will, that anything that we set our minds to, we can achieve. And I just don't think it's not entirely true. So maybe it's not the biggest lie, right? Because there is, Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny. Those are probably the biggest lies. But hey, so it may not be the biggest, but it's a lie that we tell, especially younger people, that hey, you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. Now that may be partly true, but I think if you go back a few episodes, we talk about our episode about passion, and I'll link this in the description for you guys. I'll link that episode. But when we talked about passion, we really talked about the fact that you will achieve anything that you are willing to sacrifice for. Not just putting your mind to something or thinking about something and sacrificing are two distinctly different things. Don't confuse them, okay? I think about climbing Mount Everest all the time, but I'm not going to ever climb it because there's a death zone up there, okay? And I don't want Eric Aroca ending up there. So it's never going to happen. But everything that I have been willing to sacrifice for in my life, I have been able to achieve because I'm willing to put in the sacrifice. Okay? So that's the difference. So as you're dreaming, I want you to dream about those things that you're willing to sacrifice for in order for you to achieve them. Okay? Now, what happens is we get a little bit older, we might get, into that past junior high stage, maybe early high school, and then we start telling people what we're dreaming about, what we want to do, and then the feedback that we get changes. It changes from, well, you can achieve anything that you put your mind to, little Johnny. I guess that's an old school name, right? Not little Johnny. Let's see, what's a good 2000 name? Oh, and by the way, a good 2000 name always ends in SEN or SON. So a good boy name would be Braxton, right? So little Braxton, okay, can't achieve that dream because it's not realistic. Because little Braxton wants to be a musician, right? And we've heard little Braxton play musical instruments, or we've heard little Braxton sing. And so we just tell little Braxton, that's not realistic. You're not going to achieve that, right? You fill in the blank. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a musician, it could be a doctor, it could be anything. When I was growing up and kind of into that early high school period, I wanted to be a wildlife biologist. Hey, and people kept telling me all the time, you're never going to be a wildlife biologist. You're flunking freaking biology. How are you going to be a biologist? Now, there may have some truth to that, but what would have happened if people would have been supportive and said, yeah, you could do that. Are you willing to sacrifice for it? Are you willing to get better grades in order for you to achieve that? I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking that the outcome could have been completely different. But we don't do that. We start wanting to kill people's dreams. Don't do that. Just be supportive. Who are you? Who am I to tell someone else what they're capable of? Only they know. Because they're the ones that are going to have to sacrifice. So just be supportive. It's no skin off of you to just be supportive of someone else's dreams, of someone else's passions. Just be supportive. You'd be amazed how much more those people will be able to achieve because you were supportive and you didn't kill their dream. Okay? So I think that's really important as we talk about this dreaming more thing. And I think the thing that happens is we kind of fall into that trap a little bit as we become adults. And then as we become adults, we start thinking, well, that's not really possible, or, well, that's going to take a lot. That's going to take a lot of sacrifice, or that's going to take a lot of time, which is a sacrifice. And so we just stop dreaming. But again, dreams only die if you let them starve. So dream and dream and dream and dream some more. You should never be done dreaming. I don't care how old you are. If we have a 90-year-old listening to the podcast, to this episode, you should be dreaming more. That doesn't mean sleeping more, okay? I just want to make that distinction. Does not mean that you should be sleeping more. It means you should be dreaming more, okay? Thinking about what is possible in your life, all right? Okay, so that's the first principle, is to dream more. I will say, too, that I really think that the older you get and the older you are when you start dreaming more, the more difficult it becomes. It's kind of like going back to the gym. You think about it a lot. You think it's a great idea. You're excited about it. But my hell, it takes almost everything you've got to just walk into the gym, right? That first time. It's kind of like that. It's a very difficult step, but it's one that it's very, very worthwhile. Because I truly believe if you can see it, you will be willing to sacrifice for it. I was willing to sacrifice time from my family. I can't tell you the number of times that we had a family event to go to and I didn't go because I had to sacrifice that time, that family time, because I had to study, because I had a paper due, because I had something to do with school, and I needed to dedicate that time where I could be alone and kind of have some peace and tranquility at home without the kids there, so that I could get my schoolwork done. So a huge thank you goes out to my wife Selena for allowing that to happen for me. I'm truly, truly grateful for that. It was a team effort, right? But anyway, dreaming more is essential. let's go ahead and talk about the second principle, and then in the next week's video, we will do the other two principles. So the next one, after dreaming more, is to learn more. Okay? Learn more of what, you ask? Learn more about everything. There's a lot to learn. There is a statistic that I saw that said that by the time we are 5 years old, we will have learned 80% of everything we will learn in our lifetime. You heard that correctly. I did not stutter. I want you to go back and think with me. Think back to your early childhood. Think about all the things that you had to learn. You had to learn to feed yourself. You had to potty train. You had to learn when to use the potty. Some more successful than others. I'm gonna make myself laugh. You had to learn to walk. Well, I guess you had to learn to crawl. You had to learn to roll over. You had to learn to walk. You had to learn to run. You had to learn to skip. Do you know that I know people who are my age or any age who have never skipped, who to this day do not know how to skip? I'm thinking, what the hell kind of life are you living if you don't even know how to skip? Kind of sad, don't you think? Anyway, but we had to learn so much. Then you go to school and you have to think about all the subjects and all the things that you had to learn in those subjects. Up until you're 5 years old, you're basically drinking through a fire hydrant. Because there is so much coming at you at once, it feels like. But for some reason, when we are that young, we're able to just absorb it. We're able to learn it. It's incredible what we've achieved and what we learn till we're 5 years old. So up until you're 5 years old, if you've learned 80% of everything that you're ever going to learn, that only leaves us, you guys, with 20% for the rest of our lives. You do not know how many people I run into who don't listen to podcasts, who don't read books, who just are not taking the time or investing the time to want to learn more. Now, think about your job. Think about whatever it is that you do to make a living. Do you honestly know everything that there is to know about your position, about what it is you do? Do you know everything? There better not be a single one of you out there going, oh yeah, I pretty much got it all down. Because you don't. You may think that you do, but there is so much to learn. Okay? So take the time to learn. I'm not suggesting that you enroll into school. Okay? If you want to go to college and further your education, hey, awesome for you. Like, you go. You should go and do that. But I'm talking about just go on YouTube University, right? It's free. You don't have to pay tuition. And you get to learn just about anything that you've ever wanted to learn about. I can't believe all the things that I have learned from watching YouTube tutorials, YouTube videos. It's amazing. All the things that are available to us that we're able to learn for free if we'll be willing to learn more. So take the time to learn more. I have been able to learn about writing books. I have been able to learn about my job in the speaking profession, what it takes to be a successful speaker. I have been able to learn about storytelling, which is one of the skills that I use quite a bit in my presentations or my facilitation workshops. I'm constantly sharing stories with you guys. And so be willing to truly learn more. Find something that interests you. If you have a hobby, go learn more about it. Just before we started taping or recording this episode, I was in the living room and I was watching tactical bassing on YouTube. It's one of my favorite channels on YouTube. It's called Tactical Bassing, just in case you care. And it's all about bass fishing. And I was watching a segment about swim baits. Why? Because I love swim bait fishing for bass. So that's pretty much the only baits I ever use anymore are swim baits. Even though I have an entire wall in my garage dedicated to more baits than I care to even talk about that I don't ever use anymore, because I really just kind of moved my way over to swim bait fishing. So what was I doing before taping this episode? Learning more about swim bait fishing from the experts on tactical bassing. See what I mean? So even if you have a hobby, there's an opportunity for you to go out and learn more. Life is really, I believe, a journey of learning. So take every opportunity that you have to learn more. If you're a young person, if you're in high school, if you're in a lower grade than that and you're watching this, this is prime time for you to learn more. If you're in your 20s, if you're in college, take every opportunity to learn more. Go and learn about many things, lots of different things, so that could help you figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And wouldn't it be awesome if we were all involved in a job, a career that was kind of a hobby? I'm just saying, right? That could be pretty cool. That could be very, very nice. Because then it wouldn't be work. It would just be fun. So something to keep in mind. But take those opportunities to learn more. It really pays off. So I've shared with you guys my struggles with dyslexia over the years. In fact, do you guys want me to tell you I'm going to tell you guys a funny story about dyslexia. So I learned that I had dyslexia in my early 30s because we found out my son had it, and he was in early childhood education at that time. He was like in first or second grade when we diagnosed him with dyslexia and with ADHD, or was it just ADD? One of those two. I don't know. I don't remember. But that's when I found out I had dyslexia. All right. So you guys, I've told you guys about my woes of reading and how much I've hated reading my entire life and how I couldn't read. Graduated high school reading at a third grade level. Pretty embarrassing. Okay. So, learning more though. When I found out that I had dyslexia, it truly was one of the best days of my life. And the reason why it was such a great day is because I was no longer lazy or stupid, as I had been labeled. Now, I was probably lazy, okay? I will be the first to admit I was probably a little lazy. Okay, I was probably a lot lazy, but I certainly wasn't stupid, okay? I just couldn't read, and I didn't know why. And nobody else knew why either, by the way, okay? It's not like in the 80s, you were going and getting dyslexia, when a doctor tells you that you're dyslexic. What's the word? What? What is it?
Diagnosis?
Diagnosis, yeah. They weren't diagnosing. That's my wife in the background. Hey, sometimes my, see, there I go again. Sometimes my short-term memory effects from, almost dying 4 years ago kicks in. So nobody was diagnosing dyslexia. Thank you, by the way. No one was diagnosing dyslexia back in the 80s. you really were diagnosed with lazy and stupid. And that was my diagnosis. That's the diagnosis I believed. But when that day came, when the doctor finally looked at me and he said, "Hey, congratulations, Eric, you have dyslexia also." It was a freeing moment because now I could do something about it. So I could now go and learn about dyslexia. I could now go and learn about how to overcome it. You guys see behind me, right? You see what's behind me. Books. There's a reason why I chose this as my background. Guys, I was going to show you a background of some of the big awards and the big plaques and fancy crap that I've been given at work before. I call it the vanity wall. And maybe someday I'll show it to you, okay? But that's what was going to be my background for this podcast. And then I had the idea of, hey, I should have my best friends behind me. And these are some of my best friends. There's 425 best friends behind me. Every single book that is back there, I have read. And listen, if I wouldn't have taken the time to truly learn all I could about dyslexia, there is no way on God's green earth that I would have been able to author 2 books with a third one to be released very soon. There's no way back in 2016 that I would have been able to write a book. Now, what's one of the lessons that I learned? What is one thing that I learned in this process? Is that someone with severe dyslexia should never, ever edit their own work, especially a book. Okay? Because the first version that came out was a total embarrassment because I thought I had done a really good job doing the edit. And then a friend of mine read it and said, "Are you aware of all these mistakes in your book?" No. Was my answer. No, I wasn't aware. What are you talking about? And she pointed them all out, and I'll just tell you, my heart sank. I wanted to crawl into a freaking hole and never, and I mean never, come out. I was so embarrassed because that book wasn't just my friend who had it. That book had been selling on Amazon. If you have this book, especially the very first print of this book, you should hold on to that sucker. It's probably worth some money. Okay, maybe not. But you should hold on to it because it's got all the mistakes that I thought, oh, everything is just great and dandy. Let's go ahead and publish. And thereafter it went and with all those mistakes. But I learned. Those are lessons that I learned. Do you see where we're going? Do you see where I'm going with this? You gotta be willing to learn. You gotta be willing to be vulnerable in that learning process. It's okay. I made a huge mistake. It was embarrassing. Yes, but I learned from it. Okay? When I released my other book, From Burnout to Brilliance for Teachers, guess what? I didn't have that embarrassing moment. Why? Because I learned along the way. I learned that experience in my first book, so I don't have to make that mistake in my second book. Okay? See, there's so many things that we can learn in this process. I learned to read. Now, I still don't read super great. It takes me a little bit longer to read than my daughters. You know, they go through a book a week, and 2 months later, I'm still working on 175 pages. But that's because I have to go back and reread every sentence sometimes. But it's okay because the end result is still pretty amazing. For someone who graduated high school reading at a third grade level, I'm no longer reading comic books. I mean, although I still am, right? But now you see the end result of dreaming more, of visually seeing yourself pick up a book and reading it from cover to cover, to learning more. You see how these principles build on each other? Dreaming more without learning more is just daydreaming almost. You got to couple it with something else. So we've coupled it with learning more, dreaming more, and learning more. So, guys, I hope that you have found this episode helpful. I hope that it has been a little bit eye-opening for you. I hope that you will take the time to dream more, to see what is possible, to see you building that winning culture wherever you are. That you will learn about what it will take for you to build that winning culture. Now, luckily, you're in the right channel, you're in the right space, because in episodes to come, we are really going to dive in on how to build that winning culture, right? But again, it is all principle based, okay? So these are just more principles to help you achieve that goal, okay? All right, so I will leave you guys with that quote that I shared at the beginning of the podcast. If your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and to become more, then you are a leader. With that, go out and simply live the life.